Hello everyone, this is Glenda and welcome back to my channel Creative Grandma. Today's crochet tutorial is for the super easy nap time throw. This is made using the Premier's new Sweet Roll Frostie yarn. The Afghan measures 33 by 40 inches, and I'll also give you all the information to adjust this Afghan to any size you wish. So this is the perfect little spring summer Afghan for those little toddlers in your house. So let me tell you more about how to customize this Afghan to whichever size you wish to make it. And then I'll give you all the details of the material list. Let's get started. So before I tell you what you need to make this Afghan, I just wanted to show you an up-close version of the stitch pattern. You see we're working in 3 double crochet groups and then a V-stitch. And we're just repeating a 2-row repeat to form that pattern. And then we're putting a V-stitch of double crochet V-stitch and single crochet V-stitches around for a nice little delicate border. Now this pattern can be adjusted to whichever width and length you prefer. So to adjust the width of this Afghan, if you want to make it a full-size Afghan, you want to make it smaller or larger, you would use the stitch multiple of 3 plus 1. So example, you would take 3 and times that by say 20, you would get 60, and then you need to add 1. Or you could take 3 and repeat that multiple 10 times for 30, add 1, and it would be 31. So that is how you figure out the multiple. Now when you adjust the size of this Afghan, you would go ahead and repeat rows 2 and 3 for whichever length you prefer, and you would be ending with row 3 for the pattern. So you're starting with this 3 double crochet group row, and you need to end with the 3 double crochet group row. So that is how you adjust this pattern. And then you just follow the tutorial the same way I'm showing, you just have a different width or length. So now for this pattern, you're going to need 4 cakes of the Premier Sweet Rolls Frostie yarn. This is 245 yards, 224 meters, 5 ounces, 140 grams. It is a number 4 medium worsted weight yarn. It's 100% acrylic, and the nicest thing is it is machine wash warm, tumble dry, so very nice that it's washable and dryable, because this is for a toddler to run around the house. It's going to drag around on the floor and just be carried around everywhere. Food will be spilled on it. You know, it's just one of those nice little blankets that, you know, the kids will love, and it's wonderful when they're wash and dryable. So right now they have 6 different colors available in the Frostie yarn, so you can choose a different color. They have softer pastel colors if you want a softer color. They have some beautiful browns if you want something neutral. So it can be a fun toddler Afghan, or you can make it, you know, for a full-size Afghan. The one nice thing, the reason I designed it so lacy was with spring and summer coming, you want something that they almost have like a little security blanket. When it's 80 degrees, they don't want a heavy Afghan. They just want something that when it's nap time, they can grab it, drag it around, and just have that little sense of security with that little blanket. It's light, it's lacy, and just the perfect blanket for the spring-summer season. So you're also going to need a yarn needle for weaving in your ends. You're also going to need a size 10.5 K 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, as well as a pair of scissors. So grab your supplies. You can use any 4 medium weight yarn if you have other yarn you prefer to use, as long as it's a 4 medium weight yarn. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get started. To begin, I already have my yarn attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. Again, I am using size K 10.5 or a 6.5 millimeter hook. We're going to start and chain 100. Yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and that creates your first chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2, 3, 4. Continue until you have a chain with 100 chains. I'm going to go ahead and work my 100 chains, and I'll be back and we'll get row 1 started. I have my chain with 100 chains, so here it is, and now we're going to begin row 1. To begin row 1, you're going to yarn over, you're going to skip the first 4 chain, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you're going to work into the 5th chain. Insert your hook into the 5th chain from hook, yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You just made a double crochet. So when you look at your work, your skip 4 chains counts, the first 3 chains count as the double crochet, and then you have a chain down here separating those 2 stitches. So that's what those skip chain 4 represents. Now we're going to work 2 more double crochet into this same chain. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a double crochet. So when you look at your work, you'll have 3, 1, 2, 3 double crochet into that same chain. Now we're going to go ahead and start our repeat. So if you need help, click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat and work until I say this is the end of the repeat. So let's begin. Yarn over, you're going to skip the next 2 chain, 1, 2, insert into the next chain and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. This is the start of the repeat. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 2 chain, 1, 2, insert into the next chain and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. So I'll do it one more time and then you can continue on your own. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 2 chain, insert into the next chain, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and repeat. You're going to skip the next 2 chain, work 3 double crochet into the next chain, and you're going to repeat that down your chain until you get to the last 2 chains. So when you get to these very last 2 chains, stop there. I'll meet you there and show you how to finish the row. I'm over at the end of row 1. You should have 2 chains remaining. So now we're going to end the row by working 1 double crochet into that last chain. Yarn over, skip that next chain, insert into the last chain and work 1 double crochet. Row 1 is finished, so I'm going back to the beginning. When you look at your work, you're going to have that chain 4 that you skipped, and then you have your 3 double crochet, and then you skip 2, 3 double crochet, skip 2, 3 double crochet, skip 2, 3 double crochet, worked all the way to the end. And then when you get to the end, you have 2 chains, you skip a chain and double crochet into that last chain. So this is what it should look like. Very simple row. So now we're going to go ahead and start row 2. Now row 1 is your base row. Row 2 and row 3 will be your repeat rows. So let's begin. To start row 2, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to turn your work. This beginning chain 3 will count as your first double crochet. So for row 2, we're going to be working a V-stitch of 1 double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet into the center stitch, and we're going to do that in each group of 3 double crochet across. So if you need help, just click on the video, and this is the start of the repeat. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and you're going to work that pattern across to the ending turning chain. So let's begin. You're going to yarn over, skip that first stitch, insert into the second stitch, which is the center stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made, and it should be right in the middle of that 3 double crochet group. And we're just going to repeat that across the row. So that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 2 stitches, insert into the center stitch of that next 3 double crochet group. You're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made, and that is the end of the repeat. So I'll show you one more time. Again, this is the start of the repeat. Yarn over, skip the next 2 stitches, insert into the next stitch, which is the center stitch of that 3 double crochet group, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is finished, and that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the center stitch of each 3 double crochet group across to your ending turning chain. I'll meet you there and show you how to finish the row. I'm over at the end of row 2. I worked my last V-stitch in that last 3 double crochet group, and when you look at your work, you'll have a double crochet and then your ending turning chain. So we're going to work 1 double crochet right into the top of this turning chain. Yarn over, you're going to skip that last double crochet, insert into the very next chain beside that last double crochet right at the top of that turning chain, work a double crochet. Row 2 is finished. So I'm back at the beginning of row 2. You have your beginning chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, and then you worked a V-stitch into the center stitch of each 3 double crochet group all the way over to the end of the row. And when you get to the end of the row, again, you'll have a V-stitch in the center of that last 3 double crochet group, and then 1 double crochet into the top of that ending turning chain. So now we're ready to begin row 3. So row 3, we're going to start with a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to turn your work. The beginning chain 3 will count as your first double crochet. We're going to work 3 double crochet into the chain 1 space of each V-stitch across the row, across to the ending turning chain. So let's begin. Yarn over, insert into the chain 1 space of that first V-stitch, and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, find your next V-stitch, insert underneath that chain 1 space right in the center of that V-stitch, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. I'll show you one more time. You're going to yarn over, find your next V-stitch, insert underneath the center of that V-stitch under that chain 1 space and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And that's all there is to row 3. So go ahead and work 3 double crochet into the chain 1 space of each V-stitch across until you get to the ending turning chain. I'll meet you there and show you how to finish the row. I'm over at the end of row 3. You should end with 3 double crochet into that last V-stitch, and then when you look at your work you'll have a double crochet and then your turning chain. We're going to end the row with a double crochet into the top of that turning chain. Yarn over, skip that next double crochet, insert into that next chain, which is the top of the turning chain, work a double crochet. So I'm going back to the beginning of the row of row 3. You start with your chain 3, which is the first double crochet, and then you work 3 double crochet into the center of each V-stitch across the row. And then when you get to the end, you have a double crochet into the top of that turning chain. And that is what your work should look like. So now what you want to do is, if you need help, click back on the video. For rows 4 through 61, you're going to repeat rows 2 and row 3 a total of 29 more times. So again, if you need help, just click back on the video, start where we begin row 2 and work row 2 and row 3 a total of 29 more times, and when you're done you'll be at the end of row 61. Now with this pattern, if you're new to crocheting, this is very easy. If you lose count of what row you're on, it's very easy to see your rows. So row 1 you'll have 3 double crochet, row 2 you'll have that open V-stitch, so you can just count right up and see those rows very easily. So when you get to the end of row 61, stop, I'll meet you there, and then we'll fasten off and start the border. I'm over at the end of row 61. Now this is a little longer. I can't get it all in the photo, but here's where I started, and then I worked up, repeated rows 2 and 3 until I got to the end of row 61. So now I'm going to zoom up. So I was working ahead and I already fastened off and tied my knot. So once you get to the end of row 61, go ahead and fasten off your work. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return to the beginning of row 61. So do not turn your work. Once you fasten off at the end of row 61, we're just going to go right back over into the corner on the top of our afghan, on the top right hand corner. Now for my afghan here, I started with pink and I ended with pink. So this is going to be a little different than the start of this video because I already had this finished before I started the video. So I started with blue in the video, but what you want to do is use a different color. So if your first section of the afghan and your ending section is the same color, pick one of the colors that you did not start or stop with. That way it'll give a better look to your border. So if you start the border with, you know, the pink or whatever color you started with, then it's going to blend in with the afghan, and you want it to be one of the center colors. Now with this one I have yellow, blue, purple, and pink. So what I did was I went ahead and I got a cake that started with the yellow. So you want to use, it's up to you. It's my suggestion that you use a different color. So if you have a cake that you don't have a different color, then just pull out a section of the yarn from the middle and then start with the color that's not at the beginning or end, and then save this towards the end. So I'm going to start with the yellow. So I'm just going to attach the yellow onto my hook, and I just tie a double knot. And then we're going to go up, and again your at the beginning of row 61. So you're going back to the beginning of the last row worked. You're ending this pattern with the 3 double crochet row. We're going to insert our hook into the top of that beginning chain 3. So insert your hook into the top of that beginning chain 3. And then we're going to slip stitch through the stitch and then through the loop on your hook, and that secures your new yarn to start the border. We're going to begin the round with a chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So for the top of our afghan, we're going to be working a V-stitch into the center double crochet of each 3 double crochet group across. Yarn over, insert into that center stitch of that first 3 double crochet group, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, and work a double crochet. We worked our V-stitch right into the center stitch of that 3 double crochet group, and we're going to continue that across the top of the afghan. Yarn over, you're skipping the next 2 stitches, insert into that next stitch, which is the center stitch of that 3 double crochet group, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made. So I'll show you one more time. You're going to yarn over, find your next 3 double crochet, insert right into the center stitch, insert under the top 2 loops, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is finished. So go ahead and work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the center stitch of each 3 double crochet group until you get to the next corner at the ending double crochet. I worked across the top of our afghan and I worked a V-stitch into the center stitch of each 3 double crochet group, and now we're at our first corner. We have 2 stitches remaining. You're going to yarn over, skip that next double crochet, insert into the last double crochet across the top of your afghan, and work a double crochet. You're going to chain 2 for the corner, and then we're going to work 1 more double crochet into this same stitch, yarn over, insert into that top of that same ending double crochet, and work a double crochet. And this forms your corner. So the V-stitches on top have 1 chain in between the V-stitch, and the corners will have 2 chains at the corner. So now we're going to be working in the row end stitches so you can see them very clearly. Here's the first row end stitch, the second, the third, and what we're doing is we're going to be working underneath the post of the stitch and then working around the post. So let's begin. We're going to work a V-stitch into the first row end stitch. Yarn over the hook, insert underneath and around the post of that first row end stitch, work a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert your hook underneath and around the post of that end row end stitch, the same row, and work a double crochet. So we worked a V-stitch in that first row end stitch. So now we're going to start our repeat down our length. So if you need help, this is where you're going to click back on the video to where this is the start of the repeat, working down the length of the afghan. You're going to yarn over, skip the next row end stitch, which is the V-stitch row end stitch, and you're going to insert into the next row end stitch, which is the double crochet group row end stitch. Insert underneath and around the post of that stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same row end stitch, and work a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it a couple more times together. yarn over, skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work a double crochet, chain one, yarn over, insert underneath and around that same end stitch and work a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat and your V-stitch is made. We'll do it one more time and then you can continue. Yarn over, skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, insert underneath and around the post of that end stitch, work a double crochet, chain one, yarn over, insert underneath and around that same row end stitch and work a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and repeat that down your length to the next corner. Again, you're going to skip the next row, insert into the next row and work a double crochet, chain one, double crochet across to the next corner, and I'll meet you there. I worked down the length. This is what it looks like. We worked a V-stitch in the double crochet group row, skipped the V-stitch row, and we did that down the length. Now make sure you make your stitches loose or it will start pulling together and you don't want that. So make your stitches nice and loose. And now we're over at our next corner and we're over towards the bottom of our afghan. So we worked our V-stitch in the last row end stitch down the length. So now we're going to start and make our corner. Now remember, with the corner we're chaining two. We're going to go right into that first chain. So when you look at that end stitch, it's going to be the first chain right at the base of that stitch. You're going to yarn over, insert into that first chain. You're going to work a double crochet, chain two for the corner, yarn over, insert back into that same chain and work a double crochet. And again, each corner V-stitch has two chains and the V-stitches going up and down and across the top and bottom has one chain. So now we're going to work across the bottom of our afghans. So with this side, we're going to be working our V-stitches of a double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the chain at the base of each 3 double crochet groups. So here's a chain, look for your next 3 double crochet group. This is the chain you're going to work in and you're just going to go right into the chain at the base. And you'll know the chain because all 3 stitches are worked into that same chain. So when you look at those 3 double crochet groups, you can see all 3 stitches are worked into the same chain. There's your chain, here's your chain, and so on across the row. So let's begin. Yarn over, find your first set of 3 double crochet and insert into the chain at the base of those 3 stitches. Work a double crochet, chain one, yarn over, insert back into that same chain and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made. So that's all we're going to do across the bottom of the afghan. Yarn over, find your next group of 3 double crochet, find the chain at the base right where those 3 stitches are all going into that same chain, insert into the chain, work a double crochet, chain one, yarn over, insert back into that same chain and work a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. I'll show you one more time and then you can continue. You're going to yarn over, find your next group of 3 double crochet, follow them down, find the chain where all 3 stitches are going into that same chain, insert into that chain, work a double crochet, chain one, yarn over, insert back into that same chain and work a double crochet. If you need help, just click back on the video and repeat 1 double crochet, chain one, 1 double crochet in the base of each 3 double crochet group across to the next corner, and I'll meet you there. I worked across the bottom of the afghan, and you can see we have a V-stitch in the base of each 3 double crochet group going across the bottom. And now I'm over at my corner. I worked my V-stitch in that last 3 double crochet group, and then you'll see we have our turning chain right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip this next chain and work a double crochet, chain 2 double crochet into this next chain. Yarn over, skip the next chain after the 3 double crochet group, insert into the next chain, work a double crochet, chain 2 for the corner, so make sure that you're chaining 2 at those corners. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, and work a double crochet. Your corner is made. So now we're going to repeat what we've done on the other side. We're going to work a V-stitch into this first double crochet row end stitch, and again we're going underneath and around the post of that stitch. We're going to skip the V-stitch row end stitch and then work a V-stitch into the next double crochet row end stitch. So let's begin. You're going to yarn over, insert into that row end stitch of the first double crochet row, underneath and around the post of that stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert underneath and around that same post of that first row end stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made. And again, when you're working down the length, make sure you're working your stitches loosely so they don't get too tight and gather your work together. You're going to yarn over, you're going to skip this next V-stitch row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, which is the double crochet 3 group row end stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert underneath and around that same row end stitch, and work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made. So let's do it again. Again, this is the start of the repeat. You're going to yarn over, skip that next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert underneath and around that same row end stitch, work a double crochet. Your V-stitch is made, and that is the end of the repeat. I'll show you one more time and then you can continue on your own. You're going to yarn over, skip that next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, insert back into that same row end stitch, work a double crochet. So if you need help, click back on the video. You're going to skip the next row end stitch, work a V-stitch into the next row end stitch, skip the next row end stitch, a V-stitch into the next row end stitch. Repeat that down the length, and I'll meet you at the next corner. I worked down my length. This is what my work looks like. Now I was hoping to make it all the way around with one color, but I just fell short. So when you're putting your border on, it will change colors before you get to completely around. So that's okay. That's how the yarn is made. So when I get over to the end of round 1, let me zoom back up. You worked your last V-stitch right in that last row end stitch. So now we need to make our corner and finish it off. Now half our corner is already made where we started. So we're going to end round 1 and we're going to yarn over. You're going to insert into the same space where you joined your yarn right at the base of that chain 3. Insert right into that chain, work a double crochet. You're going to chain 2 for the corner, and then we're going to join with the slip stitch in the top of that beginning chain 3. So count up 1, 2, 3, insert your hook into the top of that beginning chain 3 and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. So round 1 is finished. Now we have one more round, very quick, very easy. So for this round, we're going to be working into the chain 1 spaces of each V-stitch, and we're going to be working into the chain 2 space of each corner. To begin round 2, we need to get over to our first chain 1 space, so we're going to skip this joining stitch, insert into the next stitch under the top 2 loops and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. Insert into the next chain 1 space and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that chain 1 space and pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to chain 1. Now this beginning chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So this is where we're going to start the repeat, and our repeat will be the same for all sides. You're going to insert into the chain 1 space, work a single crochet. Chain 2, 1, 2, insert back into that same chain 1 space and work a single crochet. And we're going to repeat that into the chain 1 space of each V-stitch across to the next corner chain 2 space. Insert into the next chain 1 space of the next V-stitch, work a single crochet, chain 2, insert back into that same chain 1 space, work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain 1 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, insert back into that chain 1 space, work a single crochet. I'll show you one more time. Look for your next V-stitch. You're going to insert into the chain 1 space of that next V-stitch, work a single crochet, chain 2, insert back into that same chain 1 space, work a single crochet. So go ahead and work 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet into the chain 1 space of each V-stitch across to the next corner chain 2 space, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at my corner chain 2 space. So now I worked my single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the center of each V-stitch across. Now I'm over to that corner chain 2 space. So now we're going to work a single crochet into that corner chain 2 space, chain 2, insert back into that corner chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, insert back into that corner chain 2 space and work a single crochet. Your corner is made. You should have 3 single crochet and 2 chain 2 spaces. So that is the end of the repeat. You're going to repeat this around the remaining 3 sides in the same manner. You're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each V-stitch across to your next corner. When you get to your next corner, you're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet into that corner chain 2 space, and you're going to do that around the remaining 3 sides. Again, if you need help, click back on the video and repeat that process around the remaining 3 sides, and I'll meet you at the end of round 2 and show you how to finish. I'm over at the end of round 2. I just worked around all 4 sides of my afghan, and you should end with the corner chain 2 space right here with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. So now all we have to do is slip stitch our round together. You're going to skip that beginning chain 1. You're going to go right up into the top of that beginning single crochet underneath the top 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. I'm just going to go ahead and fasten off. When I fasten off, I chain 2, 1, 2, I pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in all my ends, and I'll be back and I'll show you the finished afghan. Our Afghan is finished. This is what it looks like. I hope everyone had fun today crocheting along with me. Again, you can make this Afghan to whichever size you wish. Just follow that stitch multiple that I give you in the beginning of the video. And also the PDF file, I do have the link to that pattern in the description box underneath this video. So until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting.